Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we're discussing a watch originally launched in late 2015 for the 2016 model year. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Perpetual calendar, and it is both a perpetual calendar and a moonphase. So 41 millimeters in rose gold. This watch is 9.5 millimeters thick. It's 51 millimeters if you measure just the case lug to lug, but if you measure these little plots, the intermediate links, the total rigid distance across the wrist is 53.5 millimeters. So consider this 41 millimeter watch to be more like a 43 millimeter round watch in how it wears. We're going to throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. And while the watch is large, I would say realistically you're going to want a wrist at least my size to wear this well. Maybe you could get away with a 15 centimeter circumference wrist if your wrist were oval rather than round. And you can see that the bracelet splays out a little bit on each side, so we're not out to the edge of my wrist lug-wise. So 15 might work, but I can swear by 16 centimeters. I would wear this very nicely. It's also flat enough and sloped enough that it'll slide underneath the dress cuffs. Well, it's a sporty timepiece. It is nevertheless a dress watch in sports watch clothing. We'll talk about why that is in a moment. Taking a quick look at the bracelet, the case, and the bezel. This is what you pay for when you buy a Royal Oak. A tremendous amount of hand finishing, as it takes between 9 and 12 hours to hand finish these bracelets by themselves. And you can see that that includes bevels that align perfectly, satination across the top, longitudinal across the top, vertical on the sides. You can see between the links there are these little hollows that have been hand finished so that there's plenty of motion between the links and clearance to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair on the underside. You can even see the ends of these little intermediate links have been polished, and that's polishing where you'll rarely see it. We have the bevel of the lug, which expands from the mid case, then goes down the lug shoulder, continues unbroken through the links. You can see the bracelet is fixed to the case using screws and bars, a very solid connection that's more confidence-inspiring and upscale than spring bars. While Patek has retreated into the world of pin sleeve bracelet assembly, Audemars Piguet continues to do things the right way, as removable links here are not pin sleeves, but screws, so anyone with a jeweler's screwdriver can size this bracelet. The clasp has been upgraded multiple times over the years to the point that this double deployant trigger-actuated clasp feels robust enough that it could be fit to an offshore and feel perfectly at home. You can see it features a combination of satination and media blasting internally. The case and bezel are as beautifully hand-finished as the bracelet, and a lot of time went into making sure that these crease lines from bezel to mid-case to case back align. There's satination on the case flanks. You can see the shape of the bezel mirrored in the shape of the case. We have pusher adjusters on the flanks for correcting the calendar. We have here a screw-down crown, which endows the watch with 20 meters of water resistance. You can see it's hexagonal, just like the white gold bolts that sit inside the rounded octagonal bezel. It was inspired by a vintage diving helmet when designer Gerald Genta penned the first Royal Oak back in 1972. We have polishing on the side that's rounded off. We also have a small satin finished segment of the bezel on its outermost face. It's vertically satinated across its top. And by the way, these bolts are bolts. That's how they can have their slots aligned all the way around the dial. The dial is a Grande Tapisserie. It is the large hobnail. It's cut on a pantograph lathe, a vintage mimicry engine. Since 2012, this is done in-house at AP, and the blue dials have always been scarce, generally reserved for premier retailers and AP factory boutiques. Although it is in the shape of the 1972 steel Royal Oak, which was a sports watch for its day. Today, this is much more of a dress watch. It's fairly formal, it's quite thin, it features a vintage style movement, only 20 meters of water resistance, but it does hark back to its sports watch roots with more than adequate luminescence in the dark. Taking a look at the dial, you can see that we have a couple of different registers, polished gold chapter rings for your day, your date, your leap year phase indicator that's coaxial with the current month. There is a radial week of the year indicator, so it is a weekly calendar. And then down at 6 o'clock, We have a photorealistic moonphase on an aventurine glass base. And aventurine glass, of course, is a type of enamel. It is very, very beautiful. It does not need to be corrected until the year 2100. It can deal with irregular length months and leap years. Turning it all over, you can see what AP calls the 5134. It's a version of their 2120 automatic base, which is itself derived from the 1967 JLC 920, an ultra-thin automatic movement that was designed by JLC exclusively for the use of Patek, Vacheron, and Audemars Piguet, and it's only ever been used by them. You can see that the rotor has been skeletonized and then triple finished with beveling inside and outside, satination, and then polishing. It's a 38 joule unidirectional automatic winder with a 40-hour power reserve and a beat rate of 19,800 vibrations per hour, kind of showing its antiquity there as a design, as an architecture. AP builds these in-house today, so they're all new manufactured movements, and there are new JLC parts in here. This is made entirely by AP. I mentioned the JLC connection just for reference. We have a free-sprung Gyromax style balance, allowing for very precise adjustment and greater shock tolerance. And then we have this circular beryllium ring that runs all the way around the movement and sits on 4 ruby roller bearings, the idea being that the rotor and the mass can be sunken very close to the bridges and the plate without risking collision under conditions of impact or vibration. That allows the base movement itself to be only 2.4 millimeters thick. One of the virtues of this JLC automatic base, you can also see the bevels are a mile wide, mirrored, and truly rounded. Unlike most of the Audemars Piguet movements made today, this one is truly hand finished. Beautiful stripes, mirrored bevels, solarization on the crown wheel, core, and ratchet wheel, black polished screws with chamfered slots and circumference, and engine turning on both the bridge for the escapement and the base plate. It's gorgeous, it's memorable, and it is very, very special. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.